Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the beer garden. This time, along with Nathan, Steve, and myself, we are going to talk about the race card on Sunday at Charene. There will be a 10 race card, including all weather and turf. We finally see the first race will be the all weather in this Hong Kong racing season. So we will talk about our picks in each race of us. So maybe let me start this time first because I'm going to talk about race number 2, which is a class 5 over 1400 meters. There is a full field here of 14. Actually, I think it is quite tricky to talk about this race, but I think the other race, they may be tricky as well. So it's going to be not an easy race cut on Sunday. So in race 2, I think that number 5, Sure Joyful, this time he will be racing in class 5 for the first time, and I hope he can bounce back. And also, recently, after the summer break, he had an impressive barrier trial on September 9th. At that barrier trial, he was ridden by Hugh Bowman, who will also be riding on him on this weekend. And at that barrier trial, it showed that Sure Joyful had a lot of gate speed, and then he stayed wide without cover. However, he still finished quite well over that barrier trial. And I think that he is now fit enough for the return, fit enough for racing. And also, as I just mentioned, first time racing over class 5. And he also gets a good draw gate. Number 4 should be quite ideal for him. I'm expecting him to be staying in the midfield with cover, which should be quite a good position for him. And also this time, Hugh Bowman will be on board this jockey-trainer partnership in a class 5 race. So make me think of Win-Win 33. If another successful one with Hugh Bowman with trainer Ricky Yu. So hopefully this time Sure Joyful. First time racing in a class 5 race. Opponents are not that strong here, so maybe he is able to to bounce back. So my banker here, race number 2 will be number 5, Sure Joyful. And for my selections, number 2, Noble Steed will be my first choice because I think he is quite competitive here in class 5. He's already a 10-year-old, but I think in the beginning of the season, he should have some good performance because he just had a good training at Chongfa before this race. And also last year on his final attempts in last season, he raced over class 5 and he chased well to finish second. And I believe he's quite competitive here. Last season, as a 9-year-old, he also scored a win over 1650 meters at Happy Valley. And this time, his rating is already 40, and racing over class 5 is not a problem for him. Gates number 10, a bit tricky for him, but as a back marker, I think he's still able to find some good position here. So number 2, Noble Steed will be one of my selections. And the second one will be number 6, Miracles. He should be a front runner in this field or the leader here. 1400 meters for him, he finished a second last season on the 1st of July. He was leading at that field and then a bit weakened, but still finishing quite well. Because on that race on July 1st, it was racing over 1400 meters as well. Miracles was the leader, and then at that day, some midfielder or back marker would be quite favorable. And Miracle was beaten by Maximize Heart, who is a back marker, and also Fortune Master Double Snow, who finished third and fourth. They also chased well from the back. So Miracle just overcame some track bias. So I think it was quite a good performance at that time. And the next start, which was the last time he raced over 1200 meters, may not be the best distance for him. So after the summer break, Miracle returns back to his best distance so far, which will be 1400 meters. I think he is able to take the lead in this field, and then he is also able to keep till the end. So to recap my choice, race number 2, this class 5 over 1400 meters, my banker will be number 5, Sure Joyful with the selections. Number 2, Noble Steed, and number 6, Miracles. But to be honest, I think choosing only 3 horses here is not that enough. So Nathan, do you like any other horse in this class 5 race?
Yeah, there's a few I like. I do agree with your banker though, Charene. I thought Sure Joyful trialled really, really well, and I thought the run behind Togepi at the end of last preparation at Happy Valley was pretty worth following as
Mm,
well. That was 1,200 meters. I like back in grade, up in trip. I think the 1,400 meters is definitely what this horse is looking for, and I do think it'll appreciate getting to Charene. So I definitely see where you're coming from if you're on top pick. A couple of horses that I thought might be worthwhile, but I'd imagine you get a decent price. And one of them I didn't mind was the number one here, Brother Pearl. Now, that's another class dropper here. Comes in on a rating of 40. I thought it was a really nice effort a couple starts back. It was disappointing at the end of the last preparation. No doubt about that. It was about 10 lengths off Flying Mojito, but drew 13, went back to the rear. I thought it was a long preparation for a horse that obviously hadn't quite come to hand with 6 starts in Hong Kong, but I think it can definitely improve. I think you go back to its peak run. I think it was back a couple starts back behind Storm Legend, and I thought it was a pretty worthwhile effort over 1,400 metres. I think its best trip is 1,400 metres, gets a nice soft draw from gate one. And as I said, when they're back in grade and coming back into class 5, generally you want to give them a length or two and give them warrant a bit of respect coming back in grade, as you alluded to with Sure Joyful. Similar story here for me in regard to Brother Pearl. I think it's a really nice setup. I thought the trial at Shungfa was pretty good as well. Won that trial, beat Home Devil in gold, so you can tie that into this race as well. So a few other horses coming through, some decent trial form as well. So it's hard to line them up when they're having their first initial starts in for the preparation, but I do think you can take a couple of these with somewhat trust, even though it is a class 5 affair. So I like Brother Pearl, I like Sure Joyful. And one more, I'll give him a minus for, which is number 12, All Is Ready. Now, it's another horse that's only had the one win, and that came at this course. And I thought it was a nice front-running effort. So if it can replicate that, I think that's what they'll be trying to do from gate 7 with Luke Ferraris on board for Mark Newnham. So hopefully he can chalk up his first Hong Kong win. I think they jump, they'll go forward. And again, they've been positive in the barrier trial as well, won a jump out at Charene. So if they can sort of replicate something with that, and this horse can do its best work, as you alluded to, with Miracles, I think they're probably the two that go forward. I think they could definitely pinch off some cheap sectionals and maybe get away with something here with All Is Ready. So a few decent runners here, but I think an each way quote, Brother Pearl sort of intrigued me, but I do agree, Sure Joyful, I think you could go worse, particularly with Hugh Bowman on board, who I think he picked up a treble last week at Charene, so he knows the course very, very well at this point in his Hong Kong racing career.
Yeah, quite tricky here. Yes, Actually, number one, Brother Pearl will be my third selections if I can have it, because I lightly raised 4-year-old and also class dropper and gate one. Everything looks quite good. But Steve, what do you think about this race?
Well, it's a nightmare, isn't it? Really, I think the race itself. I mean, I think it comes down. I think I can see why he picked Sure Joyful. It'll be interesting, as Nathan says, going back to Charene, where he hasn't really been that often. And I think the crucial thing is the drop down to the basement grade, the Class 5.
Yeah.
I mean, even looking on the HKJC website here, I mean, you look at the last 6 runs of all 14 horses. There's not a figure one. They haven't won a race. You know, it's all a nice collection of numbers except for a win. So it just shows you how elusive they do find crossing the finish line in front. Sure Joyful was a horse that I picked a couple of times last season, and thought he was going to turn the corner and win a race, but he never quite managed it. And the handicapper has given him a very good chance now, and he's nicely drawn in 4 as well. I mean, I really didn't see many that I liked in here. I picked Miracles a few times in last season, and I think that's the one that I would like. He gets the vote. He remains a maiden after 14 starts, but he found consistency last season. His first 5 or 6 runs, the previous season were terrible. And then he started the campaign last season with an second to California Veins on dirt. And recent runs, his last 6 runs have come on turf. And his best effort, encouragingly, came on his penultimate start when he was a runner-up, as you say, Charene, to Maximise Heart over track and trip. And Maximise Heart was in top form that time. He'd won a race. He was then 3rd, and then he won again, beating Miracles. And although he was of a £6 higher mark, Maximise Heart, it was ridden well by Hugh Bowman, I think, and a horse that was nicely handicapped on his best form. And then Miracles, I think I tipped it the next time. I tipped it when he was 2nd, and I tipped it the next time when he returned to Charene a fortnight later. But I don't think the 1,200 metres suited it, and he was quite disappointing. He faded back into 6th that day. But he's back to his optimum conditions on Sunday. Alexis Bedell takes the reins from Gate 5 off a career low mark, and he warmed up for this nicely in a recent trial on the all-weather when he was just caught. He made fast sectionals, just caught close home by Rise Brethren, and intriguingly, it was Hugh Bowman on Miracles that day, and now he switches to Hugh Joyful. It's a real guessing game sometimes. Musical chairs, those jockeys in Hong Kong, and invariably I can pick the wrong one sometimes. But for me, yeah, Hugh Joyful, excellent chance, and Miracles, my selection, will be next door in Gate 5.
Yeah, right. And I believe in this race, Miracle will be the leader. Just play Catch Me If You Can, and hopefully we can have some good picks in race number 2. So now let me pass the time to Nathan to talk about race number 7.
Yeah, this is a really intriguing race. I thought this was one of the more open races on the card. There is a horse I'm pretty keen on after last week's run, which I think you both know what I'm talking about in that regard. But it's a Class 3 over 1,200 metres, and we see the return of some pretty nice sprinters, I feel. It's a 9-horse field. I think you can genuinely make a case for all 9 runners, except for maybe Chateau. That horse is probably a little bit well found, I would imagine. His Hong Kong run, he's been a little bit disappointing. But you look at this field, I mean, Dragon's Luck, Super Fortune, Lucky Encounter, Joyful Hunter, Let's Do It, California Veins. A lot of these are last start winners coming back on resumption. And the one I've got on top, though, is down the bottom of the page, and that's number 9 in my banker. That's Greenwich. Now, made it my best bet last weekend, and it was a little bit disappointing the way the race unfolded. No fault of Zach Burton. The horse jumped very awkwardly. He sort of had to drag back from barrier 6. And he ended up chasing home on a 3-wide line. It didn't really suit first up after a bit of a break, and chased home Ready to Win, who eventually, I joked about, doesn't seem to want to win, and then all of a sudden he puts it together and beats me, so I thought that was ironic, and it was a nice win by Ready to Win, but I thought Greenwich did enough to chase home, and again, he was wide, it was first up, the wet deck probably didn't help, and all things considered, I thought he was very, very good through the line. I think he's worth following. They actually elect to go up in grade here, so they had to carry the top weight there with 135 pounds. They elect to go up in the Class 3 on the rating of 60. So they get in really nice here at the weights at 120 pounds. We get Alexi Bedell. That's no knock. And from gate 8, I just hope they jump and go forward, try and find a spot, maybe in the 1-1 if they can drag across with something, maybe like a Let's Do It or something that'll jump and go across. I think if they can go find a spot and be prominent in the run, I do think a few of these might be getting back. But you do have some speedsters here with Super Fortune and Dragon's Luck drawn to the inside, so I'd imagine they'll go forward and try and put a space on a few of these. So a very intriguing race, but I think Greenwich, if he can improve on that first up effort, he's worth following. And I think you might get a decent price here with a few of these horses sort of coming back on resumption, particularly number 4. That's Joyful Hunter. Now, that's going to be one of my selections with the banker. Went 2 for 2 at Happy Valley, and that last win was very, very impressive. I thought he was out on his feet. He had no right to win. He was a short quote, and you would expect him to win, but I thought Vincent Ho had to get every last inch out of him on that occasion. It was a very nice effort to go win at Happy Valley. It's hard to just, debut at Happy Valley, and he won dominantly, and then to back it up and win again, I thought was impressive. Went back to the barrier trials in between runs, obviously, on the 9th of September, not that long ago, just last week, and I thought it was a really nice piece of work in behind Captain Win. And I think from gate 5, they get a nice soft run again, and I think this will be another one that'll be charging home with Greenwich. So hopefully they can run into the 1-2. And the other horse I want to give a mention to is number 1, Dragon's Luck. Now, he's been running into some very nice horses at the end of last preparation. He ran 4th by 5 lengths behind Helios Express. That's not a knock. I thought it was actually a pretty decent run that day with a stack of tempo. And then subsequently ran well behind his Enterprise Attack, which we don't know enough about just yet to say how good he is. But I thought that was a really nice effort. Ran 3rd that day. He sort of jumps. You know what you get from him. He'll jump, he'll lead, he'll put himself right there. He's had 7 starts at Charene at this course and distance for 3 wins and 2 more minor placings. Lyle Hewitson for Douglas White. You can take on trust that this horse will be right in the finish. Just on his profile, you know exactly what you get from him. So look for him to pounce from the lids, and he'll be very, very hard to chase down. But I think Greenwich, with that run under his belt, gets a little bit of a tick in my book compared to a few of these that are on resumption. The race, as I said, doesn't end there. You can even tie in a horse like Let's Do It, and Fun and Glory was a dead heat winner at the end of last preparation. So a really nice race, I feel, race number 7 to kick off the quaddy leagues here in Australia. And I think I'm going to go with Greenwich with just on trust that he can outrun what he did last weekend. But a very nice race. So Greenwich the banker, Dragon's Luck, and also Joyful Hunter, the selections in the QQP.
Wow, so race number 7 is quite a really good race to watch. Although it is just a field of 9, all the runners are having really good form recently. Yeah, Greenwich already have one start in this season. I think he will be beneficial. And also number 4, Joyful Hunter, was a really interesting runner, having a Charene debut. Seeing his performance at Happy Valley, he has a really good, strong turn of foot. I think he is quite talented, and at this season, only 4-year-old, I'm expecting him to improve again. So in this race, my top pick will be number 4, Joyful Hunter. But other runners like Dragon's Luck with a good draw, and also Super Fortune, good draw as well. These 2 leaders maybe also have some good performance. And another one, number 3, Lucky Encounter, that's trained by David Hayes, only having 4 starts last season as a 3-year-old, but already scored 2 victories, and one of them is in class 3. And I think maybe in this Sunday, tomorrow, if the ground remains in the good condition, I believe Lucky Encounter can also have some good performance, because I think last time racing over the heavy ground is an excuse for him. So yeah, a really tough race, really strong race here. What do you think about it, Steve?
Yeah, it is a tough race. I thought Dragon's Luck was interesting. Top weight, he's drawn on the paint under Lyle Hewitt's, and Super Fortune will probably just lead, which brings a nice tempo into the race. And Lucky Encounter, another interesting horse. Let's do it, as Nathan says, probably not quite up to this, but he could surprise. And King DeMello, obviously very, very confidence on a high after winning as well. I picked Greenwich. Greenwich was my best bet on the first day of the season, and he was a bit unlucky, really, wasn't he? He'd kind of he was slowly away, wasn't he? And just unable to reel in a well handicapped winner and ready to win. Just quite a quick backup, I thought. He could just come and hose up here, maybe not hose up, but come back in a week's time and just gain compensation. But I just wasn't sure about it. I really quite liked him for his return, and as I say, I'm not too sure now. So I ended up going for Joyful Hunter, a horse that I really like. I think he'll remain unbeaten under Vincent Ho, won on debut, comfortably accounting for Modest Gentleman, and that was an £8 rise. But he took it in his stride. He stormed home 3 weeks later to nail Colonel on the post. Now that's not, Colonel's not a well beater, but it's the way he did it, I thought. And he lines up here, £6 higher mark, nicely drawn in 5. And as I say, we'll appreciate the likely pace, courtesy of Super Fortune. And I also liked his trial last week when chasing home Captain Win. And I prefer him to Dragon's Lucky Encounter in Greenwich. And Greenwich could do it, as Nathan says. He was really swinging, wasn't he? When he came around into the home straight under Zach Burton, but I just wonder if the younger legs or the fresher legs of Joyful Hunter might have just a bit more progression. That's me, and I'll take for Joyful Hunter to remain unbeaten on the returning Vincent Ho.
Yeah, right. Vincent Ho is going to return on saddle on this weekend after the fall in Japan, and he also gets a lot of good rides on weekends. So let's keep our eyes on our champion local jockey here. And to recap, race number 7 for Nathan, banker will be number 9 Greenwich with the selections number 4 Joyful Hunter and number 1 Dragon's Luck. So let us pass the time to Steve to talk about the next race, race 8.
Yes, I thought this was a really interesting race. It has 14 runners, a full field. It's a class 4 over the 1200 meters, and Joy Cumming was a winning best bet at Happy Valley, hoping that Dream Pursuer can do the same at Charene. He's a Manfred Mann trained 6-year-old, very much caught the eye in his latest trial. Hugh Bowman knows him well. And he was booked. He was booked on the horse 78 days ago, when 7th to California Veins. He was a beaten favourite on that occasion, but he had little chance from the 13 gate. But he stayed on really nicely. It was a less than the vigorous ride, I thought, by Hugh Bowman, but he stayed on really nicely for 7th, and he showed his potential on his debut last December when a close-up 4th to Capital Legend, and now races off an £8 lower mark. Started at 63, now 55. And from barrier 3, I think this looks an excellent opportunity to make the breakthrough. He does have a slightly awkward head carriage, I noticed. I think it was penultimate run when he was second of 12 over the course and distance to Speedy Fortune under Jerry Chow. But notwithstanding, I think he's a really nice horse. He's only had 7 runs. There's plenty of upside. And I preferred making Dream Pursuer. I was almost like I couldn't decide which Dream to actually make a best bet. I thought Dream Winner had a good chance in Gate 3. Race 3. But I thought that was a rather trappy little race to take a short price about. So I think Dream Pursuer is a nice horse. The other ones I thought were quite interesting was the thrice raced Sunlight Power, ridden by Keegan DeMello. Now he's breaking from Gate 11. But an interesting horse. He was third, beaten a neck only by Golden Samurai on his debut. And then he's Cost Punter's Deer. He was only fourth, beaten by Speedy Fortune a month later. And in the following month, he was disappointing. He sort of fluffed his lines under Zach Purton. He was 11th of 12 to commanding Missile. So he lines up on a recovery mission. And the other one I thought was interesting was, although he's a badly drawn horse, to See You Again, he's got a modest 1 from 19 strike rate, but he ended last season with an excellent third over course and distance. Gate 13 is the rub here, but we've seen so many times how a high barred horse can still win. But his solitary success was achieved following an 80-day absence. So I think he's interesting first up with Caris Teaton booked. But for me, yes, I really like Dream Pursuit. I think he'll shed the maiden tag with Sunlight Power and See You Again. Well, that'd be a great 1, 2, 3, wouldn't it? But I'll take Dream Pursuit. I'll be happy with that.
So here quite another tricky race to discuss. And I think that because all the 14th runners are having really similar performance recently, so maybe it is quite wide open. But yeah, I agree with number 3, Dream Pursuer, finally getting a good draw. Gate number 3 looks quite ideal for him. Another horse I would like to shout out will be number 8, Kayin Warrior. That will be ridden by Zach Purton, trained by Dennis Yip, breaking from gate number 1. He already had a 1 start last season, but he finished last. However, on the recent barrier trial, he looks good again. But this horse is always performing good in the barrier trial. So let's see how will he perform. Losing 45 pounds after the summer break, but he is still strong enough. So as long as he has a good draw, maybe he has a better chance than last time, and hopefully he will improve. But I do agree with number 3, Dream Pursuer as Steve's banker. And Nathan, what do you think about race 8? Any other horse you like?
Yeah, intriguing race. I'm actually in agreement with both of you. I think you've analysed the race really, really well. I thought my on-top pick and one of my better bets of the day is actually Kayin Warrior. I'm taking on trust that this horse can jump and actually put itself in the race. As Charene alluded to, his 1 start, he just absolutely bombed the start. It was down the Charene straight, over 1,000 metres. Knew he threw Purton off. He just didn't want to race. And you just thought, okay, well, what do you do with this guy? And then ever since, he's just been a really nice trialer. I thought his latest piece of work was really, really exceptional. He draws gate 1. He's obviously extremely lightly raced 5-year-old. He's taken his time here, Dennis Ship, but I'm convinced this horse has a stack of ability. He's won his last 2 trials and did it really, really nicely. His son, a written tycoon. If they can get him to the track and he actually jumps on Sunday and we get a chance to see what his best is, his best might be too good. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he can do that. And if he does, I think that the interesting thing is that Zach Purton's elected to stick, and he's given this horse a lot of time to really develop, and he wants to stay aboard, which is a key indicator to me that this horse does have the ability. So Kayin Warrior for me, but the danger for mine is clearly Dream Pursuer. I agree with everything Steve said. I think the key is just gets a lovely run from gate 3. Huey Bowman on board. You go back to last preparation, he drew in his last 3 starts, he drew 9, 11, and 13. Just had no luck. And I thought his stick-over trial behind Red Majesty at Charene was fair enough to suggest that this horse is coming back in really nice order. And I think another thing I like is that it hasn't been that long between runs. It was only on July 1, his latest effort. So he's got that residual fitness while a few of these are having it coming back from a genuine long spell. So I think he's still got enough revs up to be very, very competitive here. Lovely run, man for man. He knows how to, he's a very good trainer. He's got this horse going well. 10 starts with 2 wins and 2 minor placings. I know he hasn't quite put it together in Hong Kong, but I do feel like this is a race where he can finally break that Hong Kong maiden. So if Carrying Warrior isn't what I hope he is, I've definitely got to be having a bet on Dream Pursuer. We'll have to see how the markets open up. If they let Carrying Warrior go under the radar, I don't think they will, but if they do, I'll have a bet on both. And so hopefully get a result on the race that way.
Yeah, quite a tricky one. But let me recap Steve's picks here. In race number 8, banker is number 3, Dream Pursuer, with the selections number 6, Sunlight Power, and number 5, See You Again. So seems all the races on Sunday are not easy to tip, but at least the weather is going to be fine. So hopefully our selections and our bankers can run well on tomorrow. So thank you for watching this time. I hope you enjoy our show and good luck on Sunday. See you next time for the Happy Valley preview next week. See you next time. Bye bye.